Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe SI Talk. Und bei mir ist Western Copper and Gold. Die kennen wir schon, die Firma, die habe ich auch schon mir einmal genauer angeschaut. Und der Chris Donaldson wird mir ein bisschen mehr erzählen über die Company als Corporate Development, und Development is a good point. Chris, thank you to have time.
Thanks for having me.
We are here now in Yukon, good old Canada. And we are in copper and gold. So, but the most people don't know your company. So maybe you can explain the company in a nutshell, really short summary before
Sure.
we're going deeper.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a Western Copper and Gold has a fairly straightforward. Is a fairly straightforward company. We have one asset, which is the casino deposit up in the Yukon, which is in northern Canada, close to Alaska. Mm-hmm. It's a very large deposit, both as for its copper content and for its gold content. We have 9 million ounces of gold, plus an additional 9 million ounces in the inferred category. We have 4.5 billion pounds of copper, plus an additional 5.4 billion pounds in the inferred category. So across all categories, you've got 18 million ounces of gold, 10 billion pounds of copper. We've had the asset for about 10 years and have been advancing it. Mm-hmm. We finished off our drilling about 5-6 years ago, have done 2 pre-feasibility studies, a full bankable feasibility study, which we did in 2013. And then in 2014, we started the permitting process. Mm-hmm. So we're 4 years into that process now. We probably have another 2 to 3 years to go.
Why the process takes so long? Is it that the problem is that project is so large that it needs a lot of...
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, it just takes time to permit projects of this size. Certainly, we're in a very good jurisdiction, being up in the Yukon. They're mining friendly. They permit mines. There's a mine that just went through the permitting process, is being constructed right now. That's Victoria Gold. Gold Corp is mm-hmm. permitting a mine right now. So it's a good area to be. They just understandably do their due diligence up front to make sure that all the environmental controls are in place. The permitting process is going well. We've just completed an 18-month study surrounding the tailings facility, which really was the chief concern of the First Nations up there and the local community. It went very, very well. It was a big tent approach in which we included First Nations and regulators to ensure that we have technically the best solutions for tailings. Mm-hmm. It took a while to get everybody together and have a number of sessions to do this, but we're glad it's finished. We're at a point now where we're going to package everything up, and we'll be in a position to do our final submission here within the year.
This kind of project is very large project. You say it, and also with the resource, it takes normally or need a lot of capital.
Yeah.
First, capital to get all this permitting, all these studies, and so on, what you need. And second is then also the capex to set up the mine itself. Can you explain it? How much money you need, or you think you need, that you're coming up to the stage that you get all the permitting in place, and then how much money you need to build up the mine?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I mean, the good news is that for us, most of the heavy lifting and bigger expenses are now behind us. We've finished all the drilling. We've done all our feasibility studies. It's an economic mine. We're more than halfway through the permitting. So what is needed from now to absolutely being shovel ready? About $20 million.
Okay.
And then we'll be in a point where we'll have to make a production decision. The capex on the project, according to our feasibility study, is $2.5 billion. Mm-hmm. It's a big number, but it's not uncommon for copper projects to be of this size. In fact, this is actually a fairly average size copper project. If you look at it with a gold lens, multi-billion-dollar projects are, it's an expensive project but fits comfortably in the copper space. Thankfully, in the last year, copper prices have improved. They're improving. Mm-hmm. The fundamentals for the copper price going forward is quite strong. Almost every analyst will agree with that. So we're encouraged about where the direction's going. But really, it won't be us that finances this mine. It's too big for us to take on ourselves. We've said this from the beginning. So we're quite active right now, having discussions to bring in a partner, either for part of the project or potentially for the whole asset.
Mm-hmm. Before we talk about the share structure and how much cash you have, coming to the feasibility study, what their numbers looks like and how the payback time for the investment is in rough.
Well, the economics on the project are one of the key features. At spot prices today, the net present value would be about $2.3 billion. I think the IRR today would be about 23%. And the payback is actually under 3 years. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is the first 4 years we have higher grade, 0.7% copper equivalent, so we get more cash coming in early, which really helps the bottom line. The other reason why the economics work on the project is the strip ratio. It's this is a large earth moving operation, and the strip ratio is 0.59 to 1 on the project, which is almost I think it is best in class. We haven't seen one that's quite a bit lower. So just we're mining for less money, which is why the economics on the project is so good. All through the down cycle, in the last say 8 years, at whatever the price deck is with copper and gold, we were always above the 15% after-tax IRR, which is generally the hurdle mark that majors and operators are looking for a project. So the economics on it are solid.
When we look only for the next 12 months, what you're planning for the next 12 months, how the company looks like in 12 months?
In 12 months, so this last year, maybe I'll start just giving you what happened in the last 12 months and it'll lead into that. So in the last year, we've been moving ahead on the permitting side. As I mentioned, we finished off our feasibility study. Sorry, not the feasibility study, our study on the tailings, which was a key piece to the permitting. And we're nearing a point where we're able to put our final submission in for the application, which we will likely do over the next 12 months. So that'll be something there. We're encouraged that a year ago the federal government, our Prime Minister came to the Yukon and pledged a bunch of money for infrastructure projects. One of the pledges was for a road called the Casino Road. We have an access road of about 200 kilometers. The government has pledged $100 million and will build the first 100 kilometers. They will start that next year. So that is something that'll happen. It's very good. It'll get some of the local people, some jobs to the community, and obviously it's a road to the casino mine. They will also ultimately spend about a third or pay for a third of the second half of the road that we will construct, but we won't start that next year. So that will happen. We're also at a point now where we're active looking to bring in that partner. And there's no guarantees as to when that will happen. But what is encouraging is what's happened over the last year. That for 5 years you didn't see any transactions, M&A transactions, and in the last year you've seen a number. The biggest was on the gold side with Barrick and Randgold, and that should have some impact on the market. But on the copper space, you're starting to see acquisitions, and it was the big one was when Lundin went after Nevson and the Timok project. Ultimately, Zijin came in and purchased it out. Yep. That was the first one. You saw Galore Creek, Newmont bought them, or bought out the other half interest that they didn't have for $250 million. That was a couple of months ago. And even just last week, there was the Mason Resources and the Ann Mason project were purchased by Hud Bay at a 110% premium. So what's been encouraging is that you're starting to see some of the M&A that's happening. Everybody at the beginning of the year, all the majors identified that there's a really supply deficit that is coming, and that they need to fill that pipeline. And now we're starting to see the transactions. So, we hope to bring somebody in and have an announcement with that as soon as we can.
Do you looking for one company to take over you, or you're looking for a real partner that he will his portion to finance the project?
I think we're open. We've been very good with our share structure. We have a clean share structure. Ultimately, it's shareholders that will decide what it is. I mean, if we get the right offer and we feel it's the best for shareholders, then we're open to entertaining everything. We've also seen other examples of when similar type of companies have brought in companies for a portion, 20-30%, who have that technical expertise, who demonstrate to the market a way of ultimately how you will get finance, that they've done quite well for shareholders as well. So I can't answer that directly, but we'll certainly.
But you're open for all directions.
We are open for
You say shareholder structure. Shareholder structure is a very big point. So how the shareholder structure looks like?
Well, if the history of our company, we're a spin-out of a company called Western Silver. And Dale Corman, who's our chairman, also the chairman of that company, they had the Penasquito asset, did very similar thing, got it permitted, did all the engineering, and then sold it off to Glamis Gold for $1.6 billion. And then Goldcorp took it over afterwards, and it was a real success. From that, we spun out our share structure. We have about 100 million shares out. Our chairman owns 6%, and then there are about 7 or 8 people. We call them high net worth individuals who made a lot of money with Dale, our chairman, through that transaction, and others who've taken about just under a 50% position in our company as well. So we're actually quite tightly held. Half the shares are controlled by 8 people. We are very, very. We've tried to be and have been very good with our share structure. In the last 8 years, we've only diluted 3%, and that was last year. We did a very small $3 million raise, which was approximately our budget for this year. We have, I think at the end of Q3, we had about $5.5 million in the bank. Our budget is about $2 to $3 million this year. So we're pretty good on the cash side. And if we really had to, we could stretch that out into a couple of years if need be.
My last question: do you see more as a gold company or gold after, when you go gold producer, more a copper producer?
Well, I think ultimately you'd love to be a gold company, and you get more leverage on that. But the answer is both. I mean, by way of revenue, we're 50% copper, 40% gold, and about 10% moly. Let's look at the history of our share price. In 2011, when copper was at $4, we were a 400 million market cap. And in downturn, we went back down. Actually, we got as low as 30 million at one point. 2016, you had $1,400 gold, but copper was at a little over $2, and we were at 220 million market cap. And then even just last or earlier this year, in April, we were at about 70 million. Copper went on a good run between April and June, went up to $3.30 per pound, and we went from 70 cents, so 70 million market cap to 120. So we're leveraged to both. On that, I would say we trade more with the copper side. And that's the opportunity. We tend to settle down to about this level, before we see some buying again. As an investor, you certainly get exposure to that. If on the investment side, I would anticipate that we will get a re-rating at some point when we're able to bring in a partner.
Okay, great. Thank you for the first introduction to your company. Ja, Zusammenfassung. Ein riesen Goldprojekt, Gold-Kupferprojekt, 8,9 Millionen Unzen und 4,5 Millionen Pfund. Und dann haben sie nur in Imfjord, das sind Reserven, und Imfjord Resources haben sie dann nur 9 Millionen Unzen und 5,4 Millionen Pfund. Also ein Riesenprojekt, also wirklich riesen. Deswegen sind auch die CapEx 2,5 Milliarden. Sie haben vor 4 Jahren schon den Prozess gestartet, der Permitting. Sie haben vor 4 Jahren quasi oder vor 5 Jahren aufgehört zum Bohren. Sie wissen quasi jetzt genug, haben bis dort eine Pre-Feasibility Study und eine Feasibility Study gemacht, auch eine Bankable Feasibility Study, und sie arbeiten jetzt an dem Permitting-Prozess, und dort haben sie eigentlich schon das meiste geschafft. Sie sind dort mehr als die Hälfte schon durch. Die nächsten Permitting werden die nächsten 2-3 Jahre sein, und sie sind jetzt in einem Stadium, wo sie auch noch einen Partner suchen. Partner, der entweder die Firma ganz nimmt oder eben ein Partner ist, der halt dabei ist, weil er die Expertise hat, das auch in Produktion bringen. Und wie gesagt, 2,5 Milliarden muss man erst einmal finanzieren. Das heißt, da schränkt man natürlich auch die Größe ein. Die Payback-Time ist, soweit ich mich jetzt erinnern kann, unter 3 Jahren, nachdem natürlich wie Kupferpreis es ist. Das war auch ein interessantes Thema. Wir haben über die Aktionärsstruktur gesprochen. An der Aktionärsstruktur ist so, dass sie in den letzten Jahren relativ wenig Dilution gehabt hat. Das hat mich erstaunt, nur 3% Dilution. Das ist extrem wenig, weil sie letztes Jahr ein Raise gehabt haben. Sie haben jetzt derzeit ungefähr 5,5 Millionen Cash. Das reicht auch dazu, um die nächsten 12 Monate, da ist ja ein Programm zwischen 2,5-3 Millionen. Das können sie damit leicht machen. Den Rest wollen sie wahrscheinlich dann mit einem Partner quasi finanzieren. Der muss ja dann seinen Anteil einmal leisten, damit er auch das fertig ist. Es ist in Kanada, er sagt, Genehmigungen waren bis jetzt nicht wirklich das Thema. Man muss natürlich das alles abarbeiten, und je größer das Projekt ist, umso länger dauert es. 4 Jahre sind schon in dieser Permitting-Phase rein. Und Aktionärstruktur auch sehr spannend. Sie waren eigentlich ein Spin-off von Western Silver, die dann von Glamis Gold übernommen worden sind. Da war ich auch einmal Aktionär, und durch die bin ich auch Aktionär von Goldcorp geworden. Und 8 Personen quasi, der Chairman hat 6%, haben ungefähr 50% der Company. Die Dilution wollen die natürlich auch klein halten, deswegen auch so wenig in den letzten Jahren. Und sie haben eine sehr hohe Abhängigkeit vom Gold und Kupferpreis. Teilweise ein bisschen mehr zum Kupfer. 50% der Einnahme soll ungefähr auch Kupfer sein, je nachdem wie die Preise dann stehen. Und sie haben mal gesagt, sie waren schon mal 400 Millionen wert, dann waren sie mal im tiefsten 30 Millionen wert, dann waren wir 70 Millionen, dann auf, wie das Kupfer gestiegen ist, auch schon mal 120 wieder wert. Das ist halt sehr stark ein sehr starker Hebel, ein sehr starker Leverage zu Gold und Kupfer. Spannende Sache, ist ein Riesenprojekt, natürlich eine Riesenfinanzierung, deswegen kann nur ein großer dort reinsteigen. Also es muss einer dieser großen Firmen sein, die dort dementsprechend investieren, und das macht es eigentlich auch spannend. Und Yukon, wenn die natürlich ein gewisses kritisches Ereignis bei der Genehmigung überschreiten, wird sicher ein großer reinkommen, der es dementsprechend kauft. Das war's, the first introduction from Western Copper and Gold in München, November 2018. Tschüss und Baba. Thank you.
Thank you.